Hi, it's me, Amanda Solar, the Soulful Connector. Let's face it, the only way to really connect with someone is to get real. So here we go. Let's connect.
Connection. Let's talk about connection. Let's talk about connection. Let's talk about it.
I'm here with Rachel Kurtz, the CEO of RK Abstract and Associates, former leader of Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is how I met Rachel, um, and just all around really amazing community leader. And right now, the stunning Rachel is where? Where are you, Rachel?
Uh, we're in Cozumel, Mexico. So John's a massive scuba diver. I got certified actually when we started dating. So we come here about 4 times a year. He mostly does scuba diving. I haven't gone in a couple years, but it's amazing here. We love it. We love the people. It's just so relaxed. It's just so yes, we are here for probably the 3rd time this year.
That is,
Yes, that's where we are right now.
well, it looks really nice, even
It
from
is.
your little vantage point.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could like switch it over. Or let's see if we can.
Let me say, oh my
Really, I don't know how
gosh.
much you can really see, but
I
yeah,
mean, I can see beautiful foliage.
you can see some trees, the pool, the beach is right here, but it's like a weird angle. We stay in this one development, which is awesome. It's away from all the cruise ships and everything, and we're up on the south end of the island, which is absolutely amazing. We have 2 pools here, a beach, and no, it's so nice and easy.
What do you love about Cozumel?
The people, they're amazing. They really are. And John's been coming here for like 30 years. So
Oh,
we
nice.
know when we meet so many more people as we come along. There's the divers that he dives with and the owners of the dive shop that he has known for literally ever. And we've become literally family with them. So we don't get the real touristy, like we're really like the locals and you
That's the
go.
best.
So that it's the amazing part of that. It's always like the joke, we're home.
Oh,
But it's
nice.
also just being here. It's just
Yeah.
so low key. Again, as I said, all the cruise ships are up at the other side of the island. So there's not touristy here. We get our own private beach. Um, it's just nice to relax. Even though I still work, everyone jokes, but wherever I go, I'm still
Well,
working, but
that's great though. I mean,
yeah.
well, that's what's so nice about it too, that you can work
Yeah,
from
thank God.
there.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
so
awesome.
thankful the way I set everything up to where I'm able to do that. The joke is, when some of my clients call, okay, where are you? What time zone is it? It's just,
Yes, because you are a world traveler, I have to say.
we do travel a lot. Yes, we
You
do.
do. You do. I love it. Well, I have a question for you. So you are the president of your own company.
Yes.
Can you just share with me, Rachel, like how did that happen? And did you always want to be like when you were growing up, were you like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur?
No, not at all. I had no idea. No, I wanted to be a lawyer. And then as I got older and, you realize there's going to be like 10, 20 years of law school and whatever was behind it. I was not a school person. Although ironically, I love to learn now, but when you're 17 years old or,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
had more important things to do in life.
Stuff to do.
So I almost feel like everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
My mom was a real estate agent. Well, it still is, real estate agent. And she always kept saying, oh, become a real estate agent, become a real estate. No, no, no. And she ended up working for a mortgage company at some point in the mid 90s. I was right out of high school. And back then they had ads in papers. I don't know if you remember that, Amanda.
Yes.
So there was
I
an
certainly
ad in the
do.
paper for her company. So I was like, let me
I
call.
may have to explain that for some of our listeners,
Yes,
but
there was
I
a weird
know.
thing called a newspaper that we would get once a week, daily, whatever. And they would have little ads. So I had laughed and I had saw that her company was hiring and as a post closer. And so I called and I'm like, oh, I didn't say who I was. And of course they're like, oh, we're looking for someone for experience. I had none. Okay. So I joked later and I said to my mom, oh, I called. And she goes, oh, who'd you speak with? And I told her. And so she called me back and she said, hey, do you want to be like an admin, type up memos, answer phones for like $10 under the table? I said back then, sure. Yeah, I'll do it. So ironically, I started working there in that role, and then they ended up putting me in the role I originally called for. So that was like the start of getting in the mortgage world. And I worked with that company for about 2 years, and I became really close with my manager. And her sister worked for another mortgage company, a bigger company. The one I worked for was a mom and pop. So I wasn't going anywhere. And she's like, look, my sister works for this other big company. Why don't you meet with her, interview? And I did, and I went with them, and I was a processor, an underwriter, got a closer. I did everything. I was there for about 7 years, maybe 8 or 9. I can't even remember. A long time. And I was pregnant. And so after I had my daughter, I had issues with my now ex. So I went on my own. I became a mortgage broker. And that was 2003. So now I'm self-employed,
And
single
wait,
mom.
how old was your daughter when you did that?
She was 9 months old.
Oh my
When,
gosh, that's
so this is
impressive.
a single mom, 100% commission.
Wow.
Just figured it out. And it was always in every role in these parts. It was not like a dream, like this is what I want to aspire to do. It was more of a necessity. It was
Mhm.
more like, okay, I got to figure this out. And either I figure it out and fail, and then I'll figure it out again, or just. So I was a broker until 08, 09, and then the market crashed. So a friend of mine had worked for a title insurance company. And so she's like, why don't you come over here, do some stuff. So I was brokering, processing, I'm working for a title insurance company. And then within a couple years, the attorney decided he was going to retire and move on to something else. So we took it and we ran it. And we ran it together until 2014. I opened up my own company. And I guess
voila.
it's working.
It looks
So
like it is.
it was never my
Okay.
dream. It was never my dream. It was just, all
One
right,
thing
let's
led
do
to
it.
the other.
Let's see what happens.
Okay, I have a question. So you find yourself a single mother.
Yes.
Like, where did that confidence come from to say, okay, I'm going to just keep doing this. If this doesn't work, I'm going to do this.
Growing up, my parents were divorced. I was very young. I'm the oldest of 3. And I should say the oldest, meaning one of them is my twin. So by 3 minutes. But we lived with our father for the most of the time. So I had to kind of take over, not so to speak, the mother role, but the mother role. And
Right.
I don't know if it had anything to do with that because, I'm, taking care of kids, the house, and
Yeah.
figuring out whatever there. Now, I don't mean financials and
Right,
stuff,
but that you had to show a lot of independence and leadership really early.
and that's where I guess that's where it came from. I probably started working when I was 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
Babysitting, whatever, and just
Yep.
always, made sure I got my own phone line, that was a big deal, and, paid my own phone line. Like I was always very independent in
Oh,
that.
yes.
And I think that just kind of, then I started budgeting and, buy my own clothes and, so I think it just, as I got older, it just trailed from there, I guess.
So you may not even be able to answer this because you don't know anything else, but how did being a twin inform your life? Do you know what I mean? Like you may not even know.
I laugh because first of all, everyone always says, "Why didn't you tell me you were a twin?" We don't think about it. She's my sister. I don't, hi, Amanda, nice to meet you. I'm a twin. No one says that.
Yes.
It's just, so I laugh at that because that is one of the other questions. What's it like being a twin? I have no idea what it's like not being a twin. I think it's more awkward and funny, on other people because, you know, my sister works for me and I was bringing her to some networking things, or she would go without me and people would be like, well, wait, which one are you? Or not even know I'm a twin. Because, you know, again, I don't advertise
Because you're
it.
identical.
We are identical. Yes. Yes. And I'll email you a picture of her. So maybe you could somehow pop this in somehow or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes. So people get weirded out, and the weird, it's funny for us, but I know it's embarrassing for others that we're in a random place and someone comes up and was like, her name is Erin. Hey, Erin, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm not Erin. And they think I'm kidding or messing with them, you know, and I'm not. I'm really not Erin. I'm her twin. And then of course they're embarrassed. And I'm like, we get it all the time. Trust me, it's okay. I don't know. Yes, we did switch classes when we were in high school.
Oh, that's fun.
We never switched boyfriends. You know, that's a question that asks.
Yeah.
So but it is interesting. You know, it is funny, people's
Yeah.
reactions when they see both of us together. We are very similar, but we're very different.
And then you have a younger sibling?
Yes, I actually had two. My youngest passed away about 21 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's
So
okay.
you're-
But yeah, my other sister, she's in Canada. She has two
Oh, she's in
kids.
Canada. Oh my
Yeah, she's in
gosh.
Canada. Her husband's amazing. Her in-laws are amazing. Her kids are unbelievably getting so big. It's crazy. And they're coming in December, so we get to see them, which is nice.
Yeah. So, and is your twin, she works with you, so she has to be somewhat
Yes.
similar in terms
She's
of the
in
real
Salem.
estate and the
Oh, yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yes.
so interesting.
Yeah, she actually works for a foreclosure attorney. You know, real job, but she's been helping me out a lot. Where obviously I'm allowed, I shouldn't say allowed, I'm able to travel, which is really nice. It helps me immensely.
So can I ask, and I can cut this out, you know, if you prefer, but how, because the loss of a sibling is something I can't imagine even more than I can't imagine being a twin. How did you process that? How did you get through that?
So I have no problem talking about it, and actually I'm glad you're bringing it up. She committed suicide, and I'm such an advocate for this, especially now, and you know, in the COVID years, I feel like this is more of a topic that sadly has
Yes.
come up. And I feel like this is where mental health is such a huge key that we really need to start focusing, even kids on at a younger age, and start really recognizing, especially with social media. Back then, we didn't even have this. She was bipolar, and back then they really didn't have a lot of medications that were available easily. Like there was a lot of trial and error with her. And it was not her first attempt. So sadly, when she did, me personally, I can only speak for myself.
Of
It's
course.
what she wanted. I mean, with no question, it's what she wanted.
She was in pain.
She was also, she would have been transgender, no question.
Oh,
She dressed like a
interesting.
boy. She looked like a boy.
Yes.
She was a lesbian, which when she came out, we all were not
Right.
shocked whatsoever.
But you
She
know,
was-
21 years ago, that was even harder
it was
to
a
deal
big
with.
deal.
Yeah.
So she was,
Yeah.
she in high school, well, I should say this, when she was younger, she was a quarterback of a football team. that
Oh my
Ben
gosh, I
Salem
love that.
Was it Ramblers, I think, don't quote me on the team. She was in the paper, and this was early 90s, late 80s.
That's incredible.
She was the first girl in 1998, graduate of Ben Salem, to bring a girl to the prom and dress in a tux, which was a big deal. Like this
Oh my
was
gosh,
not.
I gotta say, you have a very confident family.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
is really impressive. That's
Mhm.
good for her.
So once she stood herself, stood her
Mhm.
ground.
Mhm.
And this is another reason why have such a passion for the transgender community and all,
Yes.
and having them really understand themselves and have outlets where they can understand that
Yes.
it's okay. She didn't have those outlets at
Right.
all.
Wow.
So she was dressing as a boy. She'd be in her car. She's gotten jumped because they thought she was a young guy. There's a lot of things that she had gone through, and
Yes.
it wasn't talked about or normal then. So I think there was all between the bipolarism and everything like that. I
course.
think it really, unfortunately, just went
Yes.
into.
That's just, you know, I think I'm right in saying that the LGBTQ plus community has one of the highest rates of suicide. Um,
Yes.
and I do think that when you're felt or like people think of you as quote other, it's painful. And then you put in, mental illness into the picture,
Correct.
which we do even 20 years later, we don't do a fabulous job with mental health. It's really
No.
hard to access it. There's a stigma around it.
And this is just my personal opinion.
Sure.
I just feel like everyone wants to, they want to fix it with a pill or
Right.
something. And it's not that.
No,
It's
it's
so
not
much
an
more.
easy fix. It's very complicated. And I don't think that we do well as a people talking about complicated issues. We're
Yes.
just so, I don't know why that is. We're not great at talking,
No.
actually. And so I think everything has complexity. And
Yes.
so I'm so grateful to you for sharing that. I didn't know that. And I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that you shared that because it really does help people listening who either themselves are experiencing that or their child or sibling or family member is experiencing that. The more we talk about it, like you said, the more we gain some understanding and we're better able to help people,
I
you
think
know?
that, especially in our world today, there's such a separation in understanding it. And, my sister was born this way. She wasn't
Yes.
taught this. She was 100% born this way. And it's very hard, to not know or understand if you don't know someone that's close to you that's gone
Yes.
through it or someone. So it's easy to make those judgments, and I'm just going to use the word
Mhm.
judgment, and it's always when I start to talk about my sister, it's like, oh, well, you're different. Or, oh, wow. I think once I start really talking about my sister, hopefully it kind of brings them a little better understanding in the reality of she's just one person. There's a huge community out there, and there's so many different sectors of it that I think that everyone just doesn't, we don't understand. And I am, of course, understand to a certain level. Of course, there's so many other different, ways out there, but I just,
Yeah,
to
there's a
be
lot of
open
ways to
and
be
understanding
human.
a person, it's
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
that's what I think. We are all different. My twin sister and I are literally have 99% DNA, and we're still different.
Yeah, isn't that
Everybody's
interesting?
different.
And you know what I love about you talking about it too, Rachel, and I so, so, so appreciate it because you are a community leader. You're a successful business leader, a successful community leader. And I think it also helps people to say, oh, well, okay. I mean, Rachel's okay with this. I mean, it really just goes a little further. You just reminded me too. I heard this Brene Brown quote that says, it's hard to hate people close up. And I think if we all just
Yeah.
knew someone in so many different communities, whether it's, a political affiliation or a different, religion or culture or ethnicity, when you start to get to know someone, then it's like, it's hard to hate close up.
It is. And I think that's where the sad part of the social media comes in, because we see each other on behind the pictures and
Yeah.
it's not the real person. You're not really understanding. There's some stuff I put out there publicly. I honestly, I'm an open book. I really, anyone can ask me anything. What I go through is life experiences, but I think that you're right, to your point. Someone and you speak with them face to face. You and I have many times in real life. It's just different. It's different getting to know people and understanding them. I would never judge anyone. You know, people believe they're different things for a certain reason, whether it's religion or whatever,
Yeah.
or politics. It's fine. I'm not here to change your mind.
Right.
I don't want to get myself upset for making you believe something it's never going to happen.
It's true.
We all have our beliefs for a reason. And I think that sadly, that's where we all really have to understand, and how we have to understand each other.
100%, 100%. It's one of the things I was talking about. I have a podcast that's coming up, and it's a group of people talking about kind of like you hate something and everybody else finds it acceptable.
Yes.
So we were talking about like these different things. Like one of my friends says, I hate it when somebody likes a text, you know? She's like, it drives
we
me
all
crazy.
hate that.
I know.
I don't get very far. And the group texting. Oh my God, I mute them
Right.
immediately.
Right. And then, you know, I think what I love about that topic is we can say, you know what? I hate this. You love it. And guess what? It's okay.
Yes.
We can still go out and have a glass of wine, and
Yeah,
we can still
right.
connect. It's okay. And then how did you get to Big Brothers Big Sisters? Because that's when I
So
first got to know you.
yes. So a friend of mine was on the board for many years. Suzanne Hartshorn, got a name drop.
Love her. Love her.
And I know you know her, yes. And so she was tagging at me for a while. I met her in a networking group and we became very good friends. I love her dearly. Just had lunch with her last week.
Oh my gosh,
And
that's nice.
yes. So she kept saying, "Oh, I need to join." I think at first I got involved with the events. So I'd help, they had a bowling event and stuff like that. So I'd help with them there. And then one night we were out and I guess it came up and I said, all right, I'll join. Never was in a part of a board in my life. I had no idea what to expect, but it was an awesome experience. I loved every single one on the board. You know, we have people come in, come out, you know, that happens. But I would say I was on the board maybe about 5 years, I guess. I can't even remember. And then I switched into the role of CEO for a little bit until they, you know, were able to find a permanent CEO to take the role. But it was an amazing experience. I met John there. I mean, that's how we met.
Because he was on the board. Wasn't he president of the board?
He was the president. Yes, he was the president. And I think at that point I was the second VP. So yes, it was. So that was nice. It was a little extra plus there. But it also, you know, as I got more involved, you know, I wanted to push Big Brothers Big Sisters out in the community publicly. You know, we were always trying to, of course, raise money and get a lot of companies involved and corporations involved. But what stuck with me was I lived walking distance, and I passed, probably at that point, I'm at my house 24 years. So probably 15 years I'm driving past, I had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
That's a shame. You know, I'm literally walking distance and I'm passing the sign every day, numerous times, and I have no idea who it is or what it is. So the more I got involved, and when I became the CEO, of course, this is right before COVID. So that was literally 2 months before COVID. But I wanted to at least bring recognition to the public, like, hey, this is what we're
You
here.
did.
Right. So and then of course my upbringing, I was raised by a single parent, and, you know, I felt such a connection with these kids, and some of these kids, people don't realize, even though it's Bucks County, it's hard. And I feel like we're in such a bubble sometimes in our lives that you don't realize, like, you know, you would think that some of the cities would have, you know, such children that need care, and it's not. It's in our backyard. It really is.
Yes. Well, you did do such a good job of getting them much more on the map in our area. So I appreciate that. So Rachel, I am going to shift gears.
Yes.
Because as I start to close out, I just start to ask random questions.
Okay.
So I am going to ask you random questions. What do people get wrong about you?
Okay. So there's a saying, RBF. Do you know what that means? I don't want to curse.
That
Okay.
you can curse.
Okay. It's called resting bitch face.
Oh,
So
right.
I have that. And I can't tell you how many times people would come to me and say, "Oh my gosh, you are so nice. I thought you would be such a bitch." I guess because sometimes I'm in my head. I can't tell you how many times I'm in the supermarket and I'm in my head. I'm just
Yeah,
thinking, and
sure.
people are like, "Smile." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm sorry." I also don't walk around like this all the time either.
Right.
So
And
it's
my
a
husband
weird.
has that, so I know.
Yeah.
He's
So
the male
so
version.
that I'll say they get that wrong. Because I have my moments. Let's
Oh,
be
sure,
real.
we all
I'm sure
do.
I can
But
be.
yeah, but you are very far from
Right.
anything mean.
So that comes
Okay,
to mind.
what is a trait that you admire in other people? A trait that maybe you look for in a friend, something that you respond to?
Someone that's true to themselves and really embraces not just their successes, but also the things that, their failures. I think that people that really embrace their failures is what makes them successful. We all learn from our failures. We all learn from our mistakes, hopefully. I would never change any of my mistakes or failures in my past, not one.
Awesome.
And I think that people, I always flock to that. I love people that are real. There's a facade out there at times that people want to put off like they're, these huge successes in life and, this and that. That doesn't make a person successful at all.
Right.
To me, I think
Right.
that, embracing your lows in life really that's what people I think can relate to as well.
I
So
do. I
that,
think that really is that I love that because I do think it's more bonding. I mean, one of my friends recently shared something going on with her life, and I'm telling you, I felt so honored. I felt so much closer to her. I felt so there's just something incredibly powerful about sharing your vulnerability with somebody
raw.
else.
You're raw, and that's what I love. Raw, true people. That doesn't mean you have to come up to me and tell me your
Yeah.
life problems in 5 minutes. But I mean, it's really and them feeling comfortable with me enough to share, as you just said, those moments
Yeah.
because that's not a lot. Not a lot of people do that.
No, no, everybody
don't
wants
know.
to give like the Facebook reel of their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fake book they call it.
Yep. Okay, so what is a trait that you love or admire about yourself? Everyone loves this question, Rachel.
I hate this question. Well, because it's funny. I hear my friends and they always say, "Oh my gosh, like the fact that you went on your own and a single mom, your kid was not like all this stuff that you did, like that's got to be amazing." And to me, it wasn't something that I set out to do. It was a necessity. I didn't have a choice. I mean, to me, it was a no-brainer. To others, it would be just like, I wouldn't even know where to start.
Right.
I think that I think that is definitely a huge quality that I realize that not a lot of people do. But to me,
Right.
it's just okay.
A fact of your existence.
Now what? Right. Like now what?
Yeah.
So it's hard to even admit that or see it, to be honest. But I would say it in retrospect and having conversations, that is definitely a nice thing to have.
Yeah. Yeah, it is because it's like an inner strength and an inner resilience, and it's not curling up in a ball and
No,
going into the corner. I mean, you're like, listen, I've got this baby,
wouldn't.
I'm gonna do this.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that
And there
is
was
really awesome.
there in that time frame, when the market crashed, I literally didn't work for 2 years. I lived off of credit, welfare.
Yeah.
I struggled, but I
Right.
did not let my credit go, all the debts paid off. Like I really figured it out.
Yeah,
The
that's
whole
incredible.
wide through. So
Yay, Rachel. Okay, so do you have like a favorite book or something you read that was impactful or a favorite movie that you saw that really resonated?
There's so many. I think it just depends
know.
on my moods. I'm not an avid reader, but Mitchum Albom is one of my favorite writers, ironically. And of course, I'm clueless in the sports world. So of course I'm dating John, and then they're such easy books. He's such a good writer, and they're like 100 pages, whatever. And he was like, he's a sports writer, sportscast writer. I had no idea. He has such good books.
I haven't read them, and I've only heard about them. I'm gonna have to.
They're so good. So the 5, if anything, it's the 5 people you meet before you go to heaven. Read that first. That was such a touching book. And then there's Tuesdays with Maury's, and there's so many. He is a very good writer. He really is. He just definitely touches in ways. He's not religious, but he'll touch in one of his books. He meets with a rabbi, and you just kind of go through, and you're learning a little bit of the stories of the rabbi, but then he brings in, another spin in it.
Interesting.
I'll say he's probably one of my favorite writers, even though I don't read.
No, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it. I've been put it off for all these years, Rachel.
I know, and they're so easy. I'm telling you, the font's big.
Okay.
Like it's a breeze. Like, trust me.
Awesome. Well, we kind of touched on this, and I don't know if you're there. You might not be. What is your favorite destination? I know that's got to be hard for you because you really travel a lot.
Well, I'll say my favorite destination to date.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Matera, Italy. So it's more, if you're looking at the boot, it's more like towards the heel. It's West Coast, but not along the coast. It was we went to Europe for about 2.5 months in the beginning of last year, 2023. And we had everything set up. We went to Italy, Sicily, Spain, Morocco, and Portugal. And we had it all planned out. Our travel agent was amazing. Ronnie Dempster,
nice.
shout out. So we had booked last minute a stay in Matera. And it is 10,000 years old. It is all built out of caves. And if you've ever seen The Passion of the Christ, basically any biblical movie is filmed here, no question. The scenery is absolutely breathtaking. The hotel we stayed in, it was a hotel spa. It was in a cave.
Oh, wow.
The restaurants there are in a cave. The cove, they have this beautiful, it's just unbelievable. No words can describe it. If you just Google Matera, Italy, that is our favorite destination. And what's the new James Bond? The newest James Bond movies filmed there too. John's a very huge James Bond fan, so we were geeking out a little bit on
okay, I like James Bond.
But yeah, that I will say was absolutely amazing. But overall, like, I can't.
You're right, but that does sound incredible. I am going to Google that. Okay, so a day without this feels a little hollow, or what's one thing that you just really want in every day?
In every day?
Most.
Just to rest, just to relax.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be anywhere. It could be, my girlfriends would laugh at me. Sundays was my day off. No matter what. Sundays was my day off. I wouldn't plan anything unless it was a Sunday brunch. But it would be, I would just sit at home and watch TV and literally just shut off and do nothing. If I were to do anything, I would go to the beach for the day alone. Obviously with my daughter when she was younger, she would come along, but yeah, just
nice.
to relax. Yeah, that is the key.
Okay, so last question. If your life were a book or a story, what do you think at this point? Because obviously you're not at the end of your life.
Yeah, you never know.
Don't get worried. What would the theme or the message be at this point?
I have no idea.
Your life. I wrote the life of Rachel from the time you're a little girl and up until now, all that you've been through. Like, what's the thing I go, oh, this book was about blah, blah, blah.
I mean, I would just say that it's going to sound, you'll figure it out. You know, I think people always try to have these plans of this is what I want to do at 20. This is what I want to do when I'm 25. This is what I don't care who you are. The plan's never going to happen. You know, you
Yeah.
got to be able to have room for your changes in life and be able to handle what's going to come at you, good or bad.
Mhm.
And I just figure it out. You know, it's okay. You know, and I feel like that is even my life. Just figure it out.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for taking time in
God, of course.
such a beautiful place to do this podcast and for coming on the podcast. I am
Of
so
course.
thankful.
Of course. I'm glad you asked me. Finally, it's been a while. We've been talking about it forever.
We have been. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Thank you for being a valued part of the SolFul community. Thank you to William Aronson for writing, recording, and producing the SolFul Connections theme song. And finally, always know you're not alone. We are connected. We're all in this thing together, and you and your story are important. Let's just keep on connecting.